My friendly neighborhood corner store has a thief who apparently only steals lighters. Not sure how many lighters a thief needs, but what do I know?
Let's be honest with ourselves. We're all just killing time until we can go to bed and wake up to a new game of Wordle.
I mean, that is what I do, but tell that to all my friends who stop playing and think I'm kidding when I brag and say, I got Wordle in two.
Time is the greatest illusion, a flat circle, if you will. But hear this, high and mighty time, you are not the boss of me.
Nor of me. Have such a good day. Hello, world. Welcome back to Have Such a Good Day, the show that wants you to do just that.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show that unpacks the absurdity of everyday life for your entertainment. Well, hopefully.
Yes. Hopefully you are entertained because we're here, whether you like it or not. Hear that, internet?
How y'all doing? What's
Yeah.
shaking?
How you been? Sometimes, Heather, when you say the absurdity of life for your entertainment, I think of, this is very 80s kid stuff, but I think of the commercial for the fabric softener called Snuggle, where there was like a teddy bear, and the the whole thing was like the teddy bear was like, I can make your laundry better.
Is it the
And
voice?
the tagline at the end of the commercial was like, for snuggly softness that's really less expensive.
So is it the way I say it, like the tone?
It's not really anything about how you say it, but I'm like, it kind of reminds me of Snuggle Softness fabric softener.
That is hilarious. Speaking of the 80s, Sarah, I actually, sometimes when I'll watch a movie at night, and then there's like maybe a half hour, 45 minutes to kill before I want to turn in. And so sometimes I'll just turn on whatever's like right there, like they just give you those recommendations. And the other night it was Some Kind of Wonderful. And do you remember that classic with Eric Stoltz? And I didn't finish it. I just watched like the first like half an hour, and boy, did it bring me back. It was like I remembered dialogue. Like I remembered the scenes so distinctly, even though when I approached pressing play on the movie, all these memories didn't come crashing in. It was more like when it was playing out, it was like, oh my God, I remember this movie. I haven't seen this for 30 years or whatever it is. I mean, I've not rewatched it.
Well,
but
and it
boy,
was,
did it date
and
me.
I'm going to do them a disservice, but it was Leah Thompson, right?
Yes.
Who
Super
played the
cutie.
mom in Back to the Future.
Yep, super
And then
cutie.
Mary Stuart Masterson?
Yeah, who's a super cutie too. I don't know which one I like
Totally,
more.
yeah, with like the cropped short blonde hair where you're like,
Yeah, and
oh,
she always
so
had
cool.
those like, she had the tassels on her like drumming gloves, and she'd always like drum around school, and she totally had
I
a
don't
crush on
remember
Eric
anything
Stoltz.
about that movie, but I remember it being like in the John Hughes era where like as like a fourth grader, I was like, these are the coolest teens ever.
Totally. I mean, Mary Stuart Masterson was, God, I just remember, totally idolizing her because I was a little bit tomboyish, not as much as she was in that movie. She's quite the tomboy.
That's the whole point.
I
of
admired
the
her a lot.
character.
Yeah, exactly. And like, the main dude, Eric Stoltz, wouldn't go for her because he was more into the girly girl.
Of course, which was the whole like, Pretty in Pink. It's like they all kind of had the same theme going on, where it's like the girl who's the underdog, who you don't realize is actually the prettiest one in the room, And I remember watching Pretty in Pink, at the time, like when that movie was released. I don't think I was allowed to see it in theaters because it was probably rated R, but I saw it soon afterwards, and I remember. This is not a spoiler because it literally happened 30 years ago, if not 40. But, at the end of the movie, she's sort of like, I'm going to go to prom anyway, even if everybody has done me wrong. And she has this like beautiful, big, fluffy pink dress. And she's like a good sewer. That's like her thing, right? And so she sews it into like a very like, mod 80s type of thing. And I remember watching it with my friend, and like the two of us looked at each other and we were like, she ruined it. She ruined the princess dress. Why would anybody do this? However, on a plane not that long ago, I watched the movie because it was like offered up as like, one of the things that, you can watch for free. And the dress that she makes is like way better than the original dress, which just goes to show you like what, a 7-year-old Sarah thinks is like a cool, like Princess Pony dress,
Well,
rather than something that I would wear today.
Yes, of course. And I think my point with bringing that movie up is that I do talk about watching movies from previous decades a lot, but the 80s in particular, and movies that were so quintessential 80s like this one, gosh, it's like you really start feeling your age, because it starts to feel dated, and some of just like the way the film stock is, the kind of, the styles, and the way people communicated. I mean, there were no cell phones back then. I mean, there's a lot of things that just been thinking about time a lot lately. I just had a birthday. I'm approaching like a new decade soon. And yeah, it just time, it's not a very like kind thing. It never like expresses anything amiable. It doesn't say hello. It doesn't, it just kind of keeps moving. And
yeah, you never like wake up and go,
it.
God, I feel really young.
No, you basically you have to keep.
You're never gonna
it.
do that.
You're
Even
never
if you
gonna
feel
do that.
well rested. You're never gonna be like, wow, look at me in the mirror, like I look fucking young right now.
No, you can't hit a pause
happen.
button. You can't. I mean, even though we can do a lot with technology, we haven't been able to do that yet. But it is a trip. I mean, you don't think about it that much when you're younger. I think when you're older, when you have more time behind you, you can kind of philosophize about it a little bit. Anyway, time's going by really quickly. And another reason why I'm thinking about it a lot, as my friends chat about New Year's resolutions, I have a lot of friends in a group who like doing those. They do like vision boards and stuff, and like you and I are kind of not totally like that, even though I'd love to try a vision board. I've never done it. Sounds cool, but we're coming to the end of a year and we are almost in 2023, and it's just like some of these years, even though there's 365 days packed into a year, which is a lot of days, they just go by quickly, and you can't even articulate what that feels like. It's just like, oh my gosh, it's another year. Like I have another year under my belt and we're starting a new year. And I think a lot about that stuff when a new year is approaching, and what do I celebrate as the calendar changes to a new number,
100%. I used to, when I was a kid, my parents I thought they were shining me on. I thought they were being silly, where they'd be like, how old are we? So my parents were the same age. And, they grew up together. I mean, they knew how old they were and how old the other person was. But, like, they'd kind of be like, how old? But we know when we were born, but how old are we now? And I'd be like, you guys are so, like, stop it. You know how old you are, But I am now at the age where I'm like, how old am I? I know when I was born. That is a point that I'm never going to forget. But like, I do kind of go like, how old am I? I know I'm not older than I am, but sometimes I like think am I 45? Oh no, 46. Yep.
It starts to like not matter. You know what I mean? Like it
totally
to feel,
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter at all.
And it's all relative, as we've talked about in previous shows. But so Sarah, I wanted to mention this to you because I have a little bit of a gripe. And I think that you, since you're like the technology gal in my life and in probably a lot of people's lives,
hit me.
I wanted to know how you felt about this. God, I remember the days where before Apple TV became Apple TV Plus, I'd rent movies a lot on Apple TV. iTunes. You would open it up.
Yeah.
And I used to rent stuff a lot. And
totally.
The interface is different now. It's a different platform. It's like they make their own content. I get it. I understand. You can still rent stuff on there, but it's not as forward facing. They're pushing their content. I get it. So you have to, on a lot of these platforms.
You also just have so many other places to rent things. So it's,
you do.
But I feel like people, unless you have like brand loyalty, you're hunting and pecking for the things that you want to see.
This is true. And I used to just default go to iTunes. But so now it's harder. Okay, let me take a step back. So I've got some subscriptions. Fine. I watch, I watch a lot of like analog DVDs or Blu-rays when we have them. And then we watch a lot of streaming. So we have like Criterion, Netflix, we go in and out of Netflix. We've got HBO. We go in and out of some other platforms. But renting a movie in particular, that's what I'm talking about, not just like a subscription movie you can see when you have a subscription. I know that there's some movies that I could see on like Showtime if I had a subscription. I'm talking specifically, let's buy a $2.99, rental on Amazon or whatever. But my point is that it's kind of harder than ever to like figure out where to get this movie. And there's a website that's really cool that I meant to mention months back when I was working on the movie. One of the producers told me about it. Tyler, if you're listening, thank you for recommending this. It is called justwatch.com. And it's just all one word, Just Watch. And y'all might know about this. And I've, again, known about it for a while.
I don't know about it.
But
so yeah,
it's kind of cool. So what I love about it is that, because I wanted to watch, since we're talking about movies today and content and entertainment and TV, whatnot, I wanted to watch at least something that could end up on my favorites list for this year. And so I had a list of things that I'm like, let's see if these are available for rent, because I'll pay for it all, And when you go to that website, so say you put in, so the one that I wanted to watch was Bones and All. And it's the new Luca Guadagnino movie with Timothée Chalamet and Chloe Sevigny. And I rented it for $19.99, which I normally don't do that. Most of the rentals I do $2.99, $3.99, $4.99 max usually. But I did this because we were going to go see it in the movie theater, but we didn't have time, and I figured we would be spending more going to the movie theater. So I just decided to do it. But I put in the title into justwatch.com, and it shows you where it's available on subscription. So like if it were an HBO movie and it was out, it would tell you can watch it for free if you have a subscription. Or here are the cheapest ways. It even has like a little column where it's like, here are the cheapest ways you can rent it. So it like aggregates everything for you. So instead of, because I spend so much time going into my smart TV, trying to figure out which platform is this movie available on, and if I have to rent it. And then I'm like searching around, and then like half the time Amazon is like, they say it's available on Amazon, but then you go there and it's like, sorry, this is how you can watch it. And you go on these like wild goose chases. And so I just wanted to recommend, if you are looking for any kind of movie that, movies are weird right now because they have these short stints in the theater, some of them longer than others. Right. But then they have these, you never know when something's coming online.
Yeah, in theaters and also online at the same time, but you're seeing less of that because theaters are, now getting patrons again. Mm-hmm. It is confusing. It's confusing for the consumer, for sure.
And then most of these platforms also make you go to the app. They won't even let you via your TV, which I think is whack. And this is what I wanted to ask you is, okay, I want to rent this movie. And it's via Apple TV, and it wouldn't let me do it via the interface on my TV. I had to go on my phone into the Apple TV app, rent it from there, and then go back in and get it in my account. And Amazon does the same thing. You have to go into the app, and it tells you to do that. It says you can't rent it here. You have to go on a computer or a phone. I'm like, why? Like, that seems so backwards to me, especially with how far we've come with this kind of thing. That seems so weird to me.
Especially if you were, let's say you were like, I don't know, you were at a vacation home, right? And for whatever reason, like your phone's dead or something, and you're like, can I just do it through the TV interface? I don't really have this problem that you're describing, Heather, just because, I don't know. I can't think of the last time I tried to do something within an app on my TV. My TV is quite old. It's a decade old at this point.
Oh, maybe that's why.
So it is a smart TV in a certain sense, but I just do everything through various apps, mobile apps or, something that I'm doing desktop wise, and then make sure that it's connected to my Apple TV, which the Apple TV is the only streaming box that I use on a regular basis, even though I have others. So yeah, I don't know. I guess your mileage may vary. That is annoying though.
Yeah, it's very strange because it's a smart TV and it's a new TV. It's like you'd think it would be smarter than that.
Well,
but I guess
yeah, if
not.
it's a new TV, that I guess it just depends on the service and the service wanting you to do things a certain way. Doesn't make it any better, but yeah, I think a lot of I hear this complaint from people all the time.
You do?
You know, people go, Sarah, what do you think? And I'm like, well, I just have to like see your setup. You
Yeah,
know,
totally.
I don't
No,
totally
totally.
know what the solution is unless I was like gonna tinker around.
Yeah.
Although I've been staying at my mom's just because I've been, recovering from some stuff health-wise over the last week. And, I've got my mom set up on all sorts of stuff. She has access to my Plex media server, for example. But that sometimes, like she got a new Apple TV recently and she has like a television in every room in her house.
Wow.
God bless my mother. You cannot go to her house and
Bathroom too?
you can't go to the bathroom and not watch a movie.
Wow.
She's dedicated. But there was one Apple TV where she was like, yeah, I don't know, it's like not working. I need your help. And I was like, all right. And there was a little bit of like, let's figure this out. Like it was kind of weird. But anyway, no, I don't know. I guess I'm used to us being in that era of like cutting the cord, figuring out other things. And sometimes it doesn't work super seamlessly. And we'll probably look back on this era and be like, remember when we had to like log into all these like networks?
I know. That's the thing that's
depending
so
on what we
funny.
wanted to watch, like how pedestrian of us.
I know. I always think about like, when people complain about air travel, I always think of that Louis C.K. bit where he's just like, stop grousing about traveling. I mean, you're in this like little thing that has wings in the sky and it's taking you around the world.
Well,
I don't know.
yeah,
You got to take a
I
step
know,
back
yeah.
and
Indeed you do. So on that note, Heather and I decided that, we haven't really talked about stuff we're watching. I mean, we talk about stuff that we watch, obviously, all the time, but a little bit in more detail of like, what we watch, how we watch, when we watch, why we watch. So we thought we'd spend a little bit of time on that today. And just kind of give y'all like a little bit more of a themed show. I'm sure some of you are like, "Oh God,
End
who
of
cares
the
what
year
Sarah and
theme.
Heather are watching?" But
what's really funny though is that this is very kind of old school television, the way we used to do things like in broadcast TV. At the end of the year, when people needed to take vacation and we needed to do dark weeks on shows, we would do compilation episodes and we would do best ofs, best of the year, themed shows. So it's kind of pulling from the experience of doing those. And I remember having to put those together a lot back in the day. I mean, I personally would like to talk about my favorite kind of entertaining things, whether it was TV or movies or theater for that matter, of 2022. Like what was my favorite viewing experience, plural, of the year? That's what I would love to talk about. So I don't know, Sarah, are you going to be kicking this off?
yeah, I'll kick it off. And this is actually so. I mean, as everybody who knows me knows, I love my my. When I say trash TV, I almost feel like that's disparaging unnecessarily. I like my reality television, which is, stuff that I put on in the background. I often use it to go to sleep or when I'm like going to be in the kitchen fussing around for an hour and I don't really need to look at it. And so there's that. That's not what we're going to be talking about today. But I did have some like pretty cool takeaways from stuff that I watched this year. And I'll start with a series that isn't actually even over called Fleischmann is in Trouble that I am very into. It's a mini series, so I believe that once the probably 10 episodes are done, I think we're done.
I love a miniseries.
Yeah, I know, because you kind of go like, well, I can commit, but like I don't have to commit for like the next like 5 years. If it's not right for me. Anyway, this show, and I will as always, I will keep it spoiler free. But if you were to look up the show and you're not familiar or haven't watched it, it's sort of broadly about midlife crises, divorce, et cetera, et cetera. And you might go like, that doesn't sound very fun. And it's not really a very fun show. It's not very funny. There's some comedy in there, but it's not really very funny. It's very poignant, very New York City based, which I enjoy. Some people don't, so your mileage may vary. But what was funny was I had been recommended it by somebody who was way ahead of me, like, oh, you're going to like the show. So I watched the first episode and I was like, I do like the show. This is interesting. And then that same person was way ahead of me and was like, new episode of Fleischmann tonight. Like, but we can't watch it because you're so far behind. You've only seen the first episode and this is episode 7. And I was like, let's just play it. It's fine. Sometimes I don't totally care. I'm
Me too.
We'll see it and I'll go back and, maybe, put some things together in the middle if necessary. And so we watched this I think it was episode 7, and I was like, dang, whoa, a lot of things have happened in the show since the first episode that was kind of setting this up. And I've subsequently gone back and watched a few of the episodes, and kind of to the point where they rocked me so hard that I watched a couple of them again, where I was like, I need to absorb this again. And it is, this is my jam. This is my kind of show, everybody. And my mom was like, would I like it? Which is always the mom, what's the turn test? Where I'm like, I don't know, Mom. I don't know. I think you might just think that everybody's very miserable. But I like it because...
Is it kind of a dark comedy?
It's not even a comedy. It's really not funny at all. It's dark, but it's
dark.
I
It's
think
like a
it's
drama.
I think
it's a, yeah.
it's a
Straight up
drama, and I think it's relatable, but I would not say hey, you want something uplifting? Watch Fleischman is in Trouble. No, I would not. But it's also not about death and destruction, 100% of the time. I think there are a lot of things about it that speak to me and probably speak to people who might have felt a little wayward, in that middle age, if middle age is somewhere between 30 and 70 kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I like the show. I like it a lot.
It actually
So
sounds
that's one of the things that it has really stuck with me.
Yeah, it's totally up my alley. I know what it is. I'm familiar with it. The only reason why I haven't seen it, because I know that it would be something that I would be into.
You would. I know you would like it.
I'm a fan of some of those actors, and I don't have Hulu, and it's just one of those things that I can just get it. But I'm kind of watching things on other platforms right now, and so I kind of cycle through. So I will get to a point where I will watch it, and I will become a Hulu member. Yeah. That's cool.
Well,
I'm definitely going to put it on my list.
It's an FX show, but yes, Hulu. Yeah, I don't.
Well,
I
let's
mean,
look at
this.
Just Watch and see where I can watch it.
It speaks to your point of where do I watch this thing?
Yep.
Which is an issue a lot of people have.
Yeah, it looks like. I mean, it is a Hulu original, so I would imagine you can. I guess it looks like you can watch it on Disney Plus because in the Hulu bundle. But yeah, I mean, because it's an original, I think you can only watch it on Hulu
until that relationship goes sour. Yeah. Anyway, that would be my. This is when I'm thinking of all of the things that I watched in 2022, of which there were many great movies and TV shows. This is the most recent where I'm just like, that was a good show.
Cool.
And it's not over yet. I mean, I'm still watching it. But if anybody has thoughts on Fleischmann, I would love to hear them. It's heavy content for sure. But so is Yellowstone. Also
a lot of
show.
the stuff that I like actually is, well, I guess it's either heavy or dark comedy. I mean, I don't mind heavy. I know some of our viewers don't like that. In fact, one of the movies I watched last night, I know some of our viewers, I want to urge them not to watch it because it is a little heavy. But I can kind of handle it. I think for me,
what was it?
Oh, well, it was just the Bones and All, the Luca Guadagnino movie.
Yeah, got it.
And it's basically like a modern vampire tale. It's like a love story. But it's, you know, it's suggestive of something that's kind of intense. And yeah, I didn't even realize Chloe Sevigny was in it, but her cameo, she's pretty much just in one scene. It's pretty shocking, Sarah. I didn't even know she was in it, and I was like, "Is that Chloe Sevigny? What?" Yeah, I think they kind of kept it sort of quiet that she was, because she had such a small role that maybe they did that on purpose to keep it as like a little
Drum up interest.
Yeah. So yeah, it was funny because I watched that one in particular, and I spent $20 on it to rent it because
Dang, girl.
I know I
$20.
don't normally do that, but you pay more going to the movie theater, and like we would have normally
Totally
done
true.
that. So it's like, to me, it's like not that big of a deal. But also I wanted to see something that I thought might make it into my favorites list for this year, but it didn't. And I really thought it would. There's a lot of other movies I haven't seen that are out right now that would probably be also on my 2022 favorites list, but this one didn't quite cut it. I really like the director. He did Call Me by Your Name. He's done a lot of stuff that I find, I don't know, I really like his storytelling. I love he always uses a lot of the same actors too, over and over. He's a Sicilian director, and I just think he's really interesting. So I always want to see his stuff. It wasn't as good as I thought. It still is a good movie. It is. It's a well done movie. It was interesting because I got into like a pretty thick conversation with my boyfriend about it last night, because he was saying, he made a really good point. Timothy Chalamet is, we all know
that little
that
twink.
but the camera loves him. I mean, it just does.
I'm just going to say this right now. And Timothy,
I know you don't love
I have
him.
no problem with you specifically. I get it. The internet loves you. But I'm like, I look at him and I'm like, really,
He doesn't
guys?
do it for you.
No, he does not do it for me. He's not a bad actor. I'm not.
Yeah.
Please, no takeaway from from skill here. But I'm like, really? Why?
Yeah, I know, I
everybody?
hear you.
But
I
you
mean,
know, to each their own. Eye of the beholder, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, and the thing is we don't really know why the camera likes certain people. I just think it's an interesting thing to talk about, like, because you hear that term, the camera loves so and so, and it's like, so basically, we don't have to get into that, but he's a charmer. He's got this gravitas that not every actor has. And he's definitely one of the main characters, but then there's this girl who it kind of plays her story out more than his story. She's more of the main, she has the most screen time, and it's kind of telling her story. And then they're kind of are together, and her name is Taylor Russell. She's a little bit of an unknown, at least to me. She's very good, but she's not as, the camera doesn't love her as much as Timothy Chalamet. And it's like they're on screen so much together that in a way, I think if she rose up to that level, it would have maybe been a better movie. I mean, it's a good movie, but it didn't make my top list.
All right. Well, as you were talking about this, as one does, I Googled Timothy Chalamet, Taylor Russell. Are they dating?
I don't
Apparently
know.
they're not. Apparently they're not. After Bones and all, but they had on-screen chemistry to the point that people thought, well, maybe they are.
They did have good chemistry.
I don't know.
Definitely,
Maybe they still are. You know, who knows? I don't know.
Maybe they're best buds.
Timothy, I got no bones with you. Ha ha ha. You know, bones and all. But I don't know. I look at him and I'm like, I don't understand why people, you know, like, for example, a lot of women that I know, adult women, are just like, oh gosh, has anyone been as cute as Timothy
and
Chalamet?
men,
And I'm like,
I think like him too.
well, yeah, of course, you know, but I'm like, I think there are a lot of people more attractive than that. But it's all, you know, it's a look. It's a look.
It is a look, and it doesn't
you know,
have to be
it's
your
okay
look.
if you're kind of like a slight young man with, you know, big eyebrows and sort of those sort of I don't know.
He's very skinny. He was very skinny in this, but I don't remember him being as skinny in other movies.
He's a little man.
He's a little waif.
A little man.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm a
He's
little
tall,
person. So, I mean, I'm not a little person.
Sounds
but
like you'd be a good match
I'm a
in
small
theory.
person. I'm a small, right? I don't need another one of me, Heather. Nope. That's never been what I'm going for. But
So what else have you liked this year?
yeah. So on the subject of just kind of movies and TV show stuff, I feel like I kind of want, I watched Andor, really liked it, in fact, and spoke to a few of my friends who were like, I'm not really a Star Wars person, but I've heard so many good things. Like, what do you think? And I'm like, watch it. And then they were like, oh my God, such a good show. Because it's not so much about like, oh, Luke Skywalker references and, stuff that I think somewhat puts people off where they're like, I'm not a Star Wars person. Mm-hmm. It's not really a Star Wars show at all. It definitely takes place in that universe to some extent, but definitely feels like a departure in a good way. Really good.
Yeah, I've heard great things. So you don't have to love Star Wars to get into it.
No, in fact, you don't even really have to know who anybody is on Star Wars because it's just taking place like in a galactic empire that, happens to exist. And like maybe they're like slight references here and there, but like it would not take away from, you following the plot at all. It's very much a standalone thing, which I'm sure the LucasArts and Disney people did on purpose, to get other people who are like, I'm not a Star Wars person to get into it. That's how I feel about Star Trek. I'm just not really like a Star Trek person.
You're not a Trekkie?
Even though I'm not Trekker. I think they call.
Oh, it's not Trekkie. Okay, see, what do I know?
Well, it's I think you could have a debate about that, but yeah, it just has never been my thing all that much, because I always tell
like
people
the old
like,
Star Trek.
I don't like space. And they're like, but you like Star Wars. And I'm like, it's true. I love Star Wars. I mean, I can't get
You're
enough
a walking
of Star
contradiction,
Wars.
Sarah.
I really am. Yeah.
I know how much you don't like space. I know this. I actually think about you every time
personally don't want
it's
to go
brought
to
up.
space. I don't hate the idea of space. I'm just like, I would rather die than go to space.
Yeah, like you would not, even if someone offered you $1 million.
In the ocean on Earth.
So
That's
wait,
where I would rather die.
Let's just say, what if someone did offer you $1 million? Like, what would be the price that you would go to space?
Oh,
like, what would make you go to space?
For $1 million, I'd probably go.
Okay, all right.
Because then
okay,
I
so
could just retire. But I wouldn't like it, and I'd probably
you
take
might
an
like
Ativan
it. It might
beforehand.
surprise you.
I wouldn't like it. No, I know I wouldn't. I do not want to be off the ground at all, ever. Don't want it. But going back to stuff that we've watched this year, and this was sort of a funny surprise. So I was on a plane going cross country from California to New York a couple months ago. So I was gonna basically be a captive audience for the better part of 6 hours, and my plane, had Wi-Fi and all the things where I can just kind of just be on my laptop and just while the time away. But I was sort of like, I'll just watch something, I'll just put something on the, the little screen in front of me and I'll watch it or not. And they always have the weirdest things where like, here are the, 10 movies that we have to choose from, new releases where you're like, I don't want any of these. And then it's like, here are some classic movies where I'm like, maybe, yeah. That movie I've seen like 5 times might be nice. And then there was like a documentary section where it was, a variety of things that I hadn't seen. And I had heard from a friend, I don't know, maybe earlier in 2022, maybe even earlier than that. I don't know. Time is a flat circle, as you say, Heather. But they were like, oh, that Tony Hawk documentary is really good. Tony Hawk being, one of the most famous skateboarders. And I was kind of like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, when I was in college, I watched so many surfing videos. I know skateboarding videos are not the same, but they kind of go hand in hand. There was a lot of surfing and skating that, snowboarding, exactly, that I observed. And I was sort of like, yeah, I'll get to it. And they were like, there's more to it than you think. But in my mind, I was like, I don't know, skateboarding documentary. Like, I'll be in the mood someday, and I'll watch it. Anyway, that day on the plane, I was like, what else I got to do? You know, I've got my laptop. I'll put it in the background. It is so this documentary, if you're not familiar, is called Until the Wheels Fall Off, and it is way more interesting than you think it's going to be. It's not just
maybe
about
it'll be on the
skateboarding.
plane when I this weekend.
Maybe it will. Yeah. And if
That'd be
so,
awesome.
watch it. It's definitely about skateboarding, but no, it's way more about like family and drive and
And the
you know,
culture of skateboarding.
culture
kind of
of that, but
lifestyle.
also being outside of the culture of that and like working your way in and becoming sort of a hero, but like not without some scrapes and bruises along the way, you know, and that's, you know, metaphorical. It's really good.
Cool.
Really good. Like when I was over, I was like, that was crazy. I had no idea this was going to be such an interesting documentary. I really recommend it to anybody. You know, you got to spare a couple hours and you don't know the Tony Hawk story, which I did not. I just knew he was a good skateboarder. I didn't know anything about his
I'll
life.
totally watch
anything
it.
about, you know, how he got to where he was or, you know, what happened along the way. Yeah, really, really,
Cool.
really
I mean,
good. Really
I
good.
grew up with a lot of skateboarders, especially in high school. It was very popular back then. Well, it still is, but it was like, you know, I guess
Yeah.
in my hometown it was a big thing. But,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm a little behind on documentaries, which I'm not proud of. I kind of have a long list, but I put together like a short list. I'm sure I'm missing something. But I'm going to add that to my list, Sarah, my ongoing to watch list. But yeah, I think I brought up a few of these and I'm not going to get into any major detail, but here are a few that I absolutely loved this year. They were definitely in my top 10. I mentioned this Norwegian, like kind of a dramedy, The Worst Person in the World. So good. It seriously is in my top 3 from this year. And I loved it so much. I love the main character, the girl. She's kind of looking for love and meaning in like her life in the modern world. And she's kind of floating through life and like making decisions on a whim and then like wondering if she should have made that decision. And I just relate to her a lot. It's very good. Very, very good. Go check out justwatch.com and see where you can watch it. And then I loved Bergman Island. It's a great movie. Sarah, I think you would really like it. It's basically about a couple that spend some time on an island that inspired Ingmar Bergman, the filmmaker, and they want to write. They write screenplays.
Is it really an island?
Yeah,
Or
it's really.
was it like a funny creative thing?
No,
just
it's
for the
really an
movie?
island. It's really good. It's like it's because they're writing also. They're like screenwriters, and so they're like it's a kind of a dreamy, cool movie. I think you would enjoy it. Love that. Licorice Pizza, which is the Paul Thomas Anderson
Which I
movie from
loved.
this year. Me
And
too.
So many people were
great.
like, Sarah, I don't know what you
I
see
know.
in that movie. And
People
I'm
were
like,
divided.
I loved that movie. I
Yeah,
thought it was, I watched it twice, like front to back, when I was like, oh, I love that.
It's funny. I think
movie.
Elijah, I mean, I loved it too, but I think Elijah loved it even more than I did. So maybe you guys are on par.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah, I had I had a friend watch it with me, and like halfway through, he was like, "I'm a little underwhelmed. Like, should I like push through?" And I was like, I don't know. I mean,
You're not into it. You're not into it. It's
if you're not like, it's like there's no right or wrong here.
Yeah.
I just found it like so adorable. I
Yeah.
loved that movie.
Yeah, it was great. And I just, Sarah, I really want you to watch this because it has a lot of animals in it and it's really cute, but also dark, but it's like a dark comedy. It's funny. It's the one, the Banshees of Inisherin, which I think I brought up maybe on Discord or something.
Oh, yeah.
And it's Colin, I always want to say Colin Firth, but it's Colin, the other Colin.
Farrell?
Colin Farrell. Thank you. And
The other one.
Yeah, the other one, that other Colin. It's an Irish movie, but it's charming. It's about these two friends that kind of have a falling out, and it's very cute. You have to see it. It's hard to explain. And I really, really loved, this was sort of like a little bit under the radar. I don't think it ever came out in the theater, but that's typical Steven Soderbergh. But Kimmy, it's a movie with, I think I told you about it, Sarah.
Was it about like a doll or like a robot?
No. It was about like it was about technology. It was about this girl. It's kind of a thriller. But
okay.
it's kind of a smart thriller, I guess. Zoe Kravitz was the lead.
Oh, yes. I heard it was good. Never saw it. Kind of
It's
forgot
great.
about it.
I think it was. I think it was like really underrated. And I don't want to tell you too much about it because it's kind of fun to dive in. I think the last one on my list is. I just saw it the other night. I loved it. It was totally my jam, as you would say, Sarah. And that is The Eternal Daughter. And this is Tilda Swinton is the lead. There's not very many actors in it. She plays two actors. And she and herself, I'm not going to give too much away, go to this cool, old-fashioned, kind of creepy hotel in Wales. And it's a mystery, but it's not scary. It's just like, it's a very thoughtful, beautifully shot. I loved it. I thought it was like really compelling, and I love Tilda Swinton.
Listen, anything Tilda's in, I'm like, I will watch this. Not only because she's going to be good at it, but because she can choose her vehicles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like she chooses weird stuff on purpose.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I love that about her. So
Well,
when
you
I'm
should
like,
watch
oh,
this.
Tilda's the lead in this, I will watch.
She's like the lead times two. And I like to watch her sleep. I'm just like, oh, she's just compelling. And it's, no, I really would like to hear your thoughts because the director, Joanna Hogg, she's actually one to watch. I find her style is really unique. She's a British director. She did The Souvenir. I don't know if you saw that. It's with Tilda Swinton's daughter, but I haven't even seen them yet. There are these dramas that are
Tilda
supposed to be
Swinton
great.
had a daughter.
Yeah. Anyway,
Nepo baby.
I know I won't even get into my TV list because we may be running long here. But our gift to you this holiday season is to not do a little promotion in the show, which we usually do about this time. So instead, Sarah and I are just going to yak it up till the end. And Merry Christmas.
Well, you know
Happy New Year.
Heather, I'm sorry because you brought it up. I'd be remiss if I didn't give the tiniest little promotion. But we'll keep it brief. Patreon.com/HaveSuchAGoodDay is where you can find more about how to directly support the show. We have fun episodes like this every so often. And, it kind of keeps Heather and I on track and helps us talk about the things that we love the most. And we hope that you love them as well. With that said, we're going to go ahead and wrap up this show. So fun to have you all along for the ride, talking about some of the stuff that we liked the most on our watch list in 2022.
And we want to know what you guys loved in 2022. Please email us at hi@havesuchagooddday.com. What did you love?
Yeah.
Please email us
are you like,
early and often,
oh my gosh,
forever.
Heather would love this movie and she's never mentioned it. She probably hasn't seen it. Or me. When it comes to me, you can just send me reality television, although I probably have seen it already. I am currently watching The Real Housewives of Miami new season, and they do a lot of yelling and a lot of party planning. It's like, I'm like, wow, gosh, I can't imagine party planning as much as y'all do, but good for you. And then they all fly and the caterers and stuff.
I can see how it's a little bit of an escapism thing, but like they're never going to run out of cities. That show's going to go on forever.
Trust me, Heather, I have nothing in common with the wife of a plastic surgeon who's like, I have to plan another party for like $30 million on Friday. Don't have a lot in common with her, but still, what we watch is what we watch. So always happy to hear from you.
True that.
Well, until next time, hope you had a lot of fun with us on a little bit of a cinema-themed episode of Have Such a Good Day. Until next week, stay cool, everybody. I will be Sarah.
And I will be Heather forever.
Have such a good day.